natural thought is, why would you blow something up that's so good? When you have a good team, you keep being good, and then you try to get great. That doesn't mean you keep doing the exact same thing. You do have to make changes. There's no doubt about that. But it's the type of changes you make that will be key for our franchise.
So Doc is confident that he will remain with the Clippers after the season, no matter how far the Clippers go in these playoffs. LA will have big decisions this summer, as both Blake Griffin and Chris Paul have opt-out clauses and could walk away from the Clips. On that note, Williams Kane is here with us, and he was a part of this interview. Am I correct?
Yeah, I asked Doc that question. Yes.
Spurring great sound. So I will start with you on this one. If the Clippers don't win the title, who should go?
Well, you know, interestingly, with that clip you just played, Doc told me, why blow something up if you knock on the door over and over, year after year? And guys, we know 5 straight years of 50 straight wins. Why blow that up? And he pointed out to the Utah Jazz, knocking in the 90s and finally break through the finals. I did point out to Doc, yeah, but the Jazz never won it all. So if the Clippers want to win it all and not just be a good team, a 3rd, 4th seed in the West type team, here's the answer to the question: Blake has to go. Blake opts out, Blake has to go, and Carmelo has to come in. To me, this makes entirely too much sense for every party involved. Carmelo wants a big market. New York, it's worn out. It's over. Phil wants him out. Carmelo, it's time to go. Dictate where you go. Go to L.A. It's your big market. And this team needs a guy who wants the ball in his hands in the last 2 minutes. This team needs an alpha. All they have to say is, Carmelo, be you. You don't even have to adapt. That guy's been asking you to adapt for 3 years. That guy's been asking you to change who you are. We're not going to ask you to do that. You be you. Play with your buddy Chris. DeAndre will cover up for the defensive mistakes. This team, I'm not saying it beats the Warriors, but that's the kind of tweak, not a blow-up. That's the kind of tweak that makes the Clippers real.
Well, first of all, I want to just give, I think this is one of those rare moments where Will Kane deserves a round of applause. I mean, clearly he was watching me on SportsCenter, echoing every word that I said.
Did I know? No.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Just stop lying. Yeah, you did. The point that I'm trying to make to you is this. Will Kane is absolutely right, because the head that should roll is Blake Griffin. Look, Blake Griffin is a star, but he hasn't proven to be a superstar. Some of the decent numbers are there, but Max, you know this better than most, doing afternoon drive here in Los Angeles for 5+ years. Blake Griffin hasn't been around when it counts most. He's not the individual that has elected to stop the bleeding. He has the talent to do it, but it hasn't seemed to reach fruition when it counts most. And due to the fact that you've never advanced past the semifinals of the Western Conference, particularly coming off that blown lead against Houston when you were up 3-1 a couple of years ago, Golden State's first year winning the championship when they hadn't learned how to win yet and they were still vulnerable to be had, and you blew that opportunity. It's one of those situations where I look at Chris Paul as one of the great floor generals this game has seen. DeAndre Jordan is a skywalker. He more than replaces Blake Griffin in terms of athleticism and the highlight reels and all of that other stuff. Now, what I would differ from you, Will, is this. As big as I am on Carmelo Anthony, and as much as I would love to see him with an elite point guard like Chris Paul and what he could do, I am of the mindset that Paul George would be a better fit if you could get him rather than Melo, because of what Paul George does on the defensive side of the floor, and he could still do what he does offensively. Paul George is special, and he's younger, and he has fresher legs, and he plays better defense. Don't get me wrong, Melo's big time, and I'm not poo-pooing that because Melo's a big-time offensive player. But if I had the choice between the two, that's what I would do. But either way, we agree, Blake Griffin would need to be the one to go, and I think you got to get another executive in there so Doc Rivers can focus on the coaching and let somebody else assemble the roster.
We're all over 40, so I'm going to use an expression from the 80s
Not
you
me.
guys will be familiar with. All y'all biting my style, just biting. I said way before the trade deadline the thing the Clippers needed to do was trade Blake Griffin for Carmelo Anthony. And I realized at the time Blake has more trade value than Carmelo. But in terms of fit, Carmelo's played with Chris Paul to great effect internationally in amateur basketball. It would be a draw, a lure for LeBron James eventually, who said repeatedly he'd like to play with, or it's been reported repeatedly, he wanted to play with Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony before his career is up. It's in the LA market, so not only would it make them better right away, it would fit a need, but it would also be a pull for LeBron James potentially to L.A. But that's not even the answer, guys, because the time to do that was before the trade deadline, so you got something back for Blake Griffin. Right? That was the time to do it. At this point, if you talk about what needs to change, if the Clippers get knocked out in the first round, which is possible, what needs to change is Doc Rivers. And he has to decide, does he want to fire himself as coach or as GM? Because he has a Hall of Fame point guard, he has an elite power forward, he has an all-star center, he has a dead-eye shooter at the 2, he's constructed the best bench he's had since he's been there, which is not saying a whole lot, but okay, it's better than nothing. I mean, he has plenty. He has a whole lot of there. And if he once again can't take this franchise to where they've never been, which is to the conference finals, they've never been to a conference final, then he has to decide, is he doing a bet? Is he not doing a good enough job either as a coach or as a GM? Pick a lane and stay there, or else leave the franchise.
You know what else he has, Max? He has the Golden State Warriors and the San Antonio Spurs to deal with on a year-in, year-out basis. Would you have fired Jerry Sloan? Look, I actually didn't like Doc's answer of using the Jazz, because if you're in it to win it, then the only goal can be to be the last man standing. It can't be to get 50 wins every year and hope the sports happens and hope for a mistake. I didn't like that answer from Doc. That being said, Doc's a good coach, and I think you're kind of the kind of opinion you're giving us. You would have fired Jerry Sloan into that project, and I don't think that's the right thing to do.
No, wrong.
Well, how do you distinguish the two?
In the Michael Jordan era, when you give him Scottie Pippen and someone else, no one else has a chance to win a championship. That's a pipe dream. So if you make it there, it's almost the same thing. No one was going to beat that Bulls team. Okay, he played in the Jordan era. Oh, what are you going to do?
Today's dominant team is in the same conference. It's in the West.
Yeah, but there's no Jordan Bulls there. Furthermore, if you wanted to criticize that Utah Jazz era, you could criticize Stockton and Malone and Hornacek, by the way, they had, and a great coach, the whole thing, for not being able to get it done when Jordan was gone. Because in Jordan's absence, Hakeem showed he was better than Malone or Stockton, and he was more capable of bringing his team to a championship. But I do think there is something to be said.
How do you know that if Hakeem didn't have to go against Jordan?
Well, the point is,
he went against Patrick Ewing, and prior to that, he went against David Robinson. So how do you know what you just said is factual?
Jordan is absent. So since when he's there, only he wins the championship in under 7 games every time. Who is Jordan when Jordan's not there? And the answer was, in consecutive seasons, there was only one champion. It was Hakeem and company.
Well, once again, it's the latest piece of evidence why you should turn in your basketball card, because everybody and their grandmother know if Pat Riley had used Rolando Blackman instead of keeping John Starks in there to shoot 2 for 18 and 1 for 11 from three-point range, we might be talking about a different story. That's number one. Hakeem Olajuwon was the best player, but the New York Knicks played a different brand of basketball and could have won if Pat Riley had made Pat Riley had made different decisions. That's right. So if you know that, stop spewing that nonsense.
No, the issue was John Starks couldn't hit a shot.
That's what I'm saying. Number two, when you talk about the Golden State Warriors and you talk about Doc Rivers and the Clippers, here's the indictment against Doc Rivers, if there is one. I think he's a great coach. I want him coaching my team. That's no problem. But here's my problem with it. At some point in time, I got to look at you and ask you, what are you getting out of Blake Griffin in key pivotal moments? I know what you're getting out of Chris Paul, because Chris Paul, you blame God or his parents for Chris Paul. It ain't his fault that he's 6 feet and he's not the most athletic dude in the world, but he's a great floor general and a great player. DeAndre Jordan, damn it, the free throws, okay? So you got Blake Griffin. You're that X factor. At some point, I need to be able to maximize whatever greatness is in you, and if I can't do that, I gotta look at the coach with something like that.
Stephen A., you think that Chris Paul could get you Kyrie Irving still?
No.
No, I mean, that was the thing to do. In last offseason, if there was a chance to grab Kyrie or before they won the championship.
Why would they do it and they're the champions?
Stephen A., that'd be right. That would have been the thing to do before they won the title. If you can get Paul George for Blake Griffin, of course you do that. And Paul George is obviously also better than Carmelo.
Okay, so
go ahead, Will. Let me hear from Will.
That's the debate. We're going to have it on another day. Paul George versus Carmelo. I appreciate you're going to win that debate with me on all-around player, on defense, on shooting. You're going to win it. But what I think the Clippers need is that alpha, that cold-blooded, Isaiah Thomas type player who's going to have the ball in clutch. I think it's Carmelo.
No, I'm saying,
I'm not sure it's Paul George.
Will, what I'm saying to you is this. That's a solid argument. watch Paul George a little bit more.
He's
That's all I
great.
ask.
All right.
Is he that guy?
Gotta leave it there.
That's all I ask.
If anybody
and
knows
Chris
about
Paul under
alphas, it's
pressure.
me.
Pretty
I
good.
deal with all of you. Well, good to see you. Hope the
Thank
Easter
you.
Bunny's good to you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you next week. Coming up, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have 5 Super Bowl trophies together, but could Bill have more if he had a certain other quarterback? The guy's thoughts on this one might even get me angry on a Feel Good Friday. Plus, Marshawn Lynch appears ready to put his NFL helmet back on, but not for those Seahawks. Is this a sign that things are going wrong in Seattle? Plus, Stephen